Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I'm back with a new video this time, and this time I have got Mayukh Chakrabarti, software engineer at Blackhawk Networks, and he's one of my college juniors. Mayukh, please introduce yourself.
Hi guys, I am Mayukh Chakrabarti. I am a software engineer at Blackhawk Network, as Bhai already mentioned. Started my journey from Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology, basically the same institute where Mustafizur Bhai has graduated from. And during my initial days, I was into like freelancing works. I have like contributed to multiple like small scales organizations before joining Blackhawk while I was in third year of my college. And since then, like ever since then, I've been working here, and it's been almost like 3 years now at Blackhawk. So yeah, that's pretty much about me.
So Mayukh, would you like to elaborate your educational experiences and from what background are you coming right now?
I started my schooling in as a Bharati Vidya Bhavan, my primary schooling in Bharati Vidya Bhavan, and then I moved to St. Xavier's Institution, where I did my both like the later part of primary as well as the secondary education. I took science and with biology, of course. With there is an interesting thing that happened during the initial days where I decided to move into biology rather than computer science during that time. But yeah, that's a little story. Then I joined Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology for a BTech in information technology, and yeah, that's the background I have.
So I know that you started the software engineering work right from your childhood, from class 6. And would you elaborate that how the journey started at such an early age?
At class 6, I started programming in C++. That's where I was introduced into the real life programming language. Prior to that, I did a lot of like, we can call it programming language, but not something that solves real world problems, something like Logo and all. I was interested into those during that time, but then I was introduced into C++, and that's where things changed. I started gathering more interest into those programming domains, and then later Java and all those things came into the picture, which interested me furthermore. Then during my schooling days, like in I think in class after graduating, like class 10, after like completing class 10, we were like supposed to opt for either of computer science and biology. I chose biology instead. The only reason being that biology, like moving into biology, I can still continue in computer science in future if I want to. But if I move to computer science, my biological line will be like cut off. So I had an initial thought of being a doctor during that time. Though I didn't score enough much in the NEET, like I obviously passed the NEET, but I didn't score enough to get an MBBS, and I didn't have the like luxury to basically drop 1 year and then prepare for that. So I decided not to opt for it. But computer science have always been on the back of my mind, and I was too much interested onto that. I even remember like in like 10 and like 11 and 12, while I was not having computer science, I still indulged myself into developing multiple projects. One of them include like writing concurrency and stuff with C++ and some advanced topics which weren't covered in school. So that's the like starting point of my software engineering journey, where I developed a few of the like application which you can communicate with, and the application would learn from yourself, and basically the neural networks and stuff just using C++. So those were the days, and then I joined Mac out for my BTech, for pursuing BTech, and that's when I started my like complete development journey and all those stuff. In between, I got interested in computer programming, so I was into computer programming for quite a long period of time. But then I moved into development, just leaving completely those behind. So yeah, that's how it happened.
So let me tell everyone that Mayukh was not only a student, but he was an extremely talented competitive programmer as well as a developer. But he was a hidden gem that even I, for a long time, didn't knew that somebody like Mayukh is there inside the college. So yeah, would you like to elaborate your coming to the college and being an avid competitive programmer? You were not only a competitive programmer like us, but you were a candidate masters at Code Forces, right? And apart from that, you contributed to various projects of Mozilla and everything, right? And you grabbed your first job at the end of your third year only, and you started on from there. Would you shed some light how the entire process went on?
Sure. So during the initial days, like I had few of my friend who has joined like few other colleges and all, who suggested me that computer programming is something that you should try. So that's when I started doing computer programming. But I wasn't really great at that time. I was like, I used to barely solve like the greedy problems and all those things. But as time progressed, I have seen like there was scenarios in like it frustrated me a lot at some point where I was doing a lot of computer programming, but I wasn't able to actually progress further. So it's like I was doing code forces, but the maximum of two problems I used to solve, and then I couldn't solve the third problem. So that's what demoralizes you. So there was a time that I left computer programming and I just sat back and thought that I won't do it again. It was frustrating me that much. But after quite a few months, I thought that no, that's not how it's going to work. I have to like force myself to do what I do what I do best. So I started computer programming again, and then what I realized during that time is the one mistake that I was doing is I was solving the problems which are similar, the algorithms that I already know, and I was only solving the things that I used to solve. Basically, I'm not learning any new things out of it. Uh, be it like in code forces or code chef, when you solve problems, basically I used to target the greedy ones and the DP ones, the very basic things that you usually do. And when it comes to like a more advanced topic, I used to like not solve it. I used to like get demotivated by the question itself, or probably I used to try it, but I didn't used to solve it, so I leave it behind. So that's the one mistake that I used to do. Later, how I rectified it is basically I used to perform a lot of like virtual contest in this code forces. And in the virtual contest, I used to like miss out a lot of question. I wasn't able to solve all the questions. Just the similar things was used to happen, like two questions I used to solve and all the other questions went into vain. But I used to revisit those questions again. And I used to read the editorial and try to solve it again. If there's something that I don't know, I used to learn it and then try it out. So I didn't used to leave those questions behind, and I started gathering. That's when actually the things started changing, and I started improving myself. From those like steps that I took, I started now constantly solving like three problems in computer programming. And that's when basically if you guys are aware with computer programming and code forces, like when you solve two problems constantly, you are an like specialist. If you solve three questions constantly, you are an expert, right? But the moment you solve four like questions, you jump into Canyon Master, right? So that's, I'm talking about division 2. Division 3 has been recently introduced nowadays. So I then started myself like solving three questions constantly. I started improving myself. That's when I became an expert. And then I I kept on doing the same thing. Regular practice is the key over here. And that's when I became Canyon Master during that time. So that was a great journey. And I learned a lot definitely from that. But then I left computer programming completely behind, and I started doing freelancing works. And that's when I joined Blackhawk. In like while doing that, I joined Blackhawk in third year. So I have an interesting story behind that as well, which I'll share later point. So that's how it worked.
Okay. Prior to that, your freelancing works like contributing to projects of Mozilla and everything. Would you like to
So
shed some light on that?
sure. So one more thing, what I used to love is I used to love reading code, right? So I used to love reading code more than writing codes. So I used to visit like random like projects in GitHub that are very popular, and I used to read the codes that's been written over there. So that's when my interest over open sourcing developed. I started solving like I started contributing to different open source like projects more than I could remember now. I had like 3 profiles over there. So I have like 3 or more than 3 GitHub profiles, and all of them are for different purposes that I used to use. Um, I remember contributing to, like, I remember participating into multiple like hackathons and challenges that are posed. I contributed to Mozilla's features, which is still there. You can find in Mozilla Firefox, which is an open source project. I contributed to like Microsoft's challenges, for which I got a lot of goodies. Basically, the language processing engine for Microsoft. And then I think there was a challenge posed by Microsoft as well during a hackathon, and I contributed there as well and got a limited edition t-shirt designed by Ashley McNamara. And similarly, there was like a lot of other projects like Google I contributed in during the initial phases of this Google Assistant, and I got a like Google Home and all those kind of gifts over there. So yeah, like my open source journey has taught me a lot in this process, and I really evolved myself as an open source developer. So when I look back those days, I see that reading those codes that were open source helped me a lot actually to learn and develop my personality in coding. So yeah, that's over my journey in open source.
Yeah, again, a great thing to know that how you just contributed to multiple projects while your time. And now coming to the part of Blackhawk networks, how the entire thing went on.
Okay, so there is an interesting story over here. On third year, on the end of third year, the talent acquisition of Blackhawk reached out to me. I don't remember applying to Blackhawk network. The talent acquisition reached out to me. He told me that he likes my profile and he wants to do an interview and all this stuff. He wants to proceed with the profile if I'm interested in. I did a good search. I didn't used to know about Blackhawk Network and what it is. So I did some Google searches and all, and I found like Blackhawk Network is really a big organization. And then they are recently like stepping into India, and they are hiring like talents from India right now. So I went ahead with that. And I went to multiple like series of interviews when I was in third year. And all the interviews went really well. Then I was into the final round, which was the HR round. The HR, I was communicating with the HR when HR just came across my resume, and he says, "You haven't even graduated from your college." So the basic requirement for joining Blackhawk Network as an associate software engineer is that you need to graduate from your college, right? You need to have a graduation certificate. So I didn't used to have that during that time. Like I was still in third year as a student in third year, and I say that you guys have pushed me. I am still a third year student. So that's when the HR said, okay, let me talk to others. And we dropped off. And I was like, okay, I am not going to get this job. The HR mentioned that they have internship offers, definitely, for like the students, but they don't have a job offer. So I lost my hope and I was wandering around while in the evening, I got a call from Talent Quotient. And he said he is all the interviewers are really like basically all the interviews are really inspired by what like the interviews that I gave. Basically, they are very pleased with that. So they are going out of their policy to give me the offer. And the only requirement that I have during that time is that I have to provide an NOC certificate to them. I struggled a bit to provide that, but fortunately, our TPO sir has worked on well over there, and he gave me the NOC certificate. And I was able to join Blackhawk during those days. And it was quite a journey because I have to cover both my education as well as my remaining freelancing project that I've already taken and I haven't completed. At the same time, I have to work at Blackhawk Network. So that has been quite a journey. But yeah, it's been 3 years and I'm still going strong.
Yeah, that's really, again, a very nice story to know that. But how would you rate the interviews that's being conducted? What kind of questions were being asked? And if someone wants to apply for Blackhawk Networks, what should he prepare?
I think the interviews are not really super hard. It was, I would say, like medium. During the initial interviews, like there was an online assessment test which would test your like the data structure and algorithm knowledge. They would give like two or three programming questions over there. You would be given like the SQL questions to solve, some SQL scenarios where you have to write the queries, right? And then you are given like a project to solve. right? They give you a basic thing that you need to build. They give you the interface and you have to just write the code over there. And then there are MCQs and all other stuffs that they judge on. And I think you need to get more than like 70 or something, which to qualify out of 100 on those examinations. And then the interview rounds begins where you are supposed to, like, basically the first level of interview when you are interviewed with like the software engineer. um, then basically they ask you like two programming questions where you have to like pair program with him. You have to solve the questions. Those I won't rate as like hard. It would be more like a medium question. He would ask you something about like the databases and all the stuff that are generally in an interview. And then you proceed to the second stage of interview where you are interviewed with a senior software engineer, where you are asked questions on your projects that you've solved. At the same time, two like algorithmic questions are like for sure you will get. And then you will be like basically getting different kind of like out of context questions which you have to basically answer to them. It could be related to your project that you have like built. It could be related to the domains that you have, right? Then goes to the other round of interview where basically the same kind of things happens. And then finally the bar raiser interview. The bar raiser interview, you would get a relatively hard question where you are interviewed with some like principal software engineers or with say the director, right? So we will get a relatively hard question and he will just get into depth of this question. You basically solve it and then he would just modify the question a bit more like that way. So, and you have to like basically come up with a different phase of solution in that. And then finally the HR round goes in. The HR round is quite simple. They just judge your personality and all the stuff, and that's it. That's what they judge. I would rate the overall interview as medium, not too hard, but yeah, it has a lot of rounds, so that's there.
So the bar raiser round that you have faced, the question was related to what domain? Should that be a question of a development or that's also an algorithmic problem?
That's an algorithmic questions. I mean, there basically the question started with a DP approach, and then it went into like a DP in combined with some mathematical formulas, where you are like given to solve large number equations, right, with the help of that particular DP. And
Okay.
then like he just modifies the question into writing a more better code, right? How you can basically modularize the code and how you can make it more functional, right? So that's how like he goes into like basically you are given different scenarios to solve a particular problem and you have to discuss further on to that same scenario. So that's how basically it goes on.
So what topics were covered while your interviews related to data structures and algorithms? What topics would you recommend?
I would say like pretty much the dynamic programming is something that's a must. Then you have string scenarios, right? And any algorithms related to string scenarios. These are like vast things that you need to cover. And then there comes, I think, basic graph. Having a basic graph knowledge and recursion is enough for the interview. And
Okay.
definitely you need to have some good projects because that's like development based company, so a product based development company. So they would definitely see your like projects for sure. And probably you are supposed to know a bit of like DBMS and stuff. That's it.
Okay, that's again a great thing to know. So how far would you rate your journey at Blackhawk Networks? It's been 3 years, and how's the company, its work-life balance and everything? How would you rate that?
So the work-life balance is satisfactory. Like there were times where basically you need to go into phases of hard phases where you need to work in a very hard like lifestyle, but the company pays off. Like basically they would, after the phase gets over, you would get the recognitions and all those things. So company has those things looked after. So I'd say the work-life balance is good. It's not the best of all, but it's definitely good.
And how's the learning curve? If someone joins that, how the learning curve should go on? What kind of tech stacks you work on and everything?
Right. So the learning curve is a bit sharp here, but you are given time to actually like basically nourish yourself to develop certain things. You are not directly pushed into the ocean, so you have the time in your hand. So the tech stacks we work on is we're currently working in React, and we have like Marionette, we have Backbone, we have Rivet, right? We have the Django. In our backend, we work in Django, Flask, and in the third-party applications, we work in like Java and Spring Boot, and Angular. Right, so these are the like more over the tech stack. Recently, there are products that's been built over like GraphQL and then the Next.js and all. So those are also there. So you get a variety of different technologies to work with. You get a lot of things to learn from that. You get interesting problems to solve, and yeah, that's overall it's a great journey. I think you will get a lot of learning curve, but at the same time you'll get to learn and like nourish yourself a lot.
Okay, and what the companies aimed on? What kind of products they developed? In what domain?
Yeah, so they develop like we develop like fintech solutions. So we are one of the best e-gifting and fintech companies in the world. We develop the e-commerce fintech solutions that's been used by multiple companies. So basically, different other companies purchase our product. We have both B2B and B2C products. Some of the companies, for example, you have like Starbucks, you have Samsung, you have Apple. A lot of big companies, they use our product in their e-commerce solution to basically nourish the user flow, right?
Okay.
And there are B2B solutions as well, which are mostly like basically the fulfillment and everything that a company has. So all the companies can manage all their fulfillment and different details over in one particular solution. So we have a lot of customizable products in those sectors. So yeah, that's pretty much like what we work on.
Okay, that's really nice to know. And what are your future goals?
That's a good question. Currently, it would be to nourish myself, to develop myself as a whole, as a software engineer, to be able to single-handedly like manage multiple projects. I think that's would be something that I would like aim upon. And then going forward, I want to basically proceed with my educational career as well. So I want to do some kind of master's in science, MS and all these degrees as well. So yeah, I mean, I would say just to develop myself is something that I look forward to right now, and to make myself more better, more capable.
That's really nice. And you have spent significant amount of time in software engineering. To the budding candidates who wish to come into this domain, what tips would you like to give?
Yeah, I mean, I generally follow like 5 principles for software engineering. And I think like anyone who aspires to be a software engineer or is already a software engineer should follow. One of them is never stop learning new things. Always be keen to learn new things. Never be afraid of failing. The second would be try to read the code more. The more you read the code, the more better you develop your personality of coding. So that's there. The third thing is start learning how to read documentations. That's a key aspect. I think many of them misses. They go to like online tutorials and everything. They miss out reading documentations. So that's a very key thing that they need to start learning on. Fourth thing is don't debug a code while writing it. First write the entire code, and then if you feel the necessity, debug it. So what that does, that nourishes your logic, that makes your logic more stronger. So I see many software engineers who basically write the code and debug it at the same time, which I feel is a bad practice. And the fifth thing is always remember that unit test cases are one of the key functionalities in your software. So that would always help you prevent your software from breaking in future. So always be a test-driven guy. Always write unit test cases for your code. I think following these 5 principles, you can be a great software engineer.
Being an estate, I should also say that the test that you write determines the quality of your product.
Right.
Yeah. So very nice to know these things, Mayukh, from your end. Very nice tips, very nice your journeys we have known from here. All of you, whoever are watching, if you like the video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thanks to everyone, and thanks, Mayukh, for giving your precious time on my channel.
Thank you.